Alright, so this should be a very easy, very quick lesson. This lesson is something I want to do to sort of summarize what we've learned in the last 10, 11 lessons. We're going to look at separation of power and checks and balances. We've been looking really closely at how the Founding Fathers wanted to prevent an autocracy. They had lived under a monarch, lived under a king, and they wanted American government to be different. They wanted it to be run by the people, and they wanted to ensure that all of that power was not held by one person, right? So they separated out the powers. They said there will be one branch that makes the laws, and that's all they can do, right? So the Congress or the legislative branch, it makes the laws, but it doesn't have the power to enforce it. That's a different branch. So the executive branch, it enforces the laws, doesn't make them, right? And the judicial branch, it carries out the laws. So separating the power into different spheres. That's all separation of powers means. Students often get this confused with checks and balances. Checks and balances is how the different branches make sure that the other branches don't get too big, or make sure that they don't take a power that doesn't belong to them. So you need to make sure that you know how each branch checks the power of the other. So let's start with the legislative branch. The legislative branch will check the executive branch's power. It can do this by overriding the presidential veto. If they can call another vote on the law that the president vetoed, and if 2/3 of them vote for the law to pass, it overrides the president's veto. Now, Congress also has the ability to try the president and remove him or impeach the president. If the president is breaking the law, then they are the ones that bring him to trial. Congress or the legislative branch checks the power of the judicial branch because it's the one that confirms the judges. Remember that the Senate must first confirm the judges that are on the courts. It can also impeach judges. So if judges are breaking the law or not doing their duties, they do have the ability to remove judges. That's their check on the judicial branch. Let's look at the judicial branch. Again, there's two checks. The judicial branch has to check the legislative branch and check the executive branch. It does this by declaring the laws that they make. It will look at the laws and declare them unconstitutional, and it declares acts by the president unconstitutional as well. Remember the process of judicial review. The executive branch will check the power of the legislative branch, and it will check the power of the judicial branch. Remember, the president is the one who nominates those judges. So he has to nominate good judges to get them on the bench. The Senate will then confirm them, but the president is the one that nominates them, and all the different appointed positions as well. The president has a huge check on the Congress or the legislative branch by being able to veto laws. Okay, if they put out a law, the president says no, he can veto it. But then they can override that veto with a 2/3 vote. Okay, so make sure that you know how the checks and balances work to keep the separation separate. Okay, that is all for this lesson.